Okay, so this is our last lesson for prep class. You will also need to have access to the audio file that I will have uploaded into Google Classroom for this lesson. Okay, so this lesson is Developing Speaking. You can find it on page 66 in your Gateway book or on the worksheet that was posted in Google Classroom. And the objective of this lesson is preparing and giving a presentation. Okay, so a presentation. What I would like you to do is look at the slide and we're going to, what do you think are the advantages and disadvantages of homeschooling? So we'll be looking at making a presentation about this topic. Okay, I think this is rather suitable because that is basically what you have been doing. You have been at home attending school during these 2 weeks. So I want you to think of the advantages or disadvantages of you having your lessons this way. So as you'll see, I have made a wee graph there, table, and I have advantages and disadvantages. So in the advantages, I have given you one example, which is warm, friendly environment. And in the disadvantages, I have given you lack of facilities. So you then think of any other advantages or disadvantages that you would put underneath those two labels. You can pause the video now to do that. Okay, so now we are going to listen to a student who's going to give a presentation on homeschooling. So we will need our audio for this. So what I'd like you to do is listen to the audio and decide whether she thinks it is a good idea or a bad idea for homeschooling. Also listen out for her ideas, maybe write a note of them all and see if any of them match with what you had written. So pause the video now and go and listen to the audio. Okay. So she actually thinks it is a bad idea. And what I have here coming up on the screen now are all the different ideas that she had stated. So they're all listed there. She mentioned no uniform. She mentioned that maybe the students would be lonely, that you would miss out on learning and developing with friends. She also mentioned that maybe parents wouldn't be a good teacher. And she also actually thought that not having exams would then not motivate her to study. So I wonder, did you come up with any of the same ideas? Okay, so for the next exercise, exercise 3, we need to listen to the audio again. Now in the speaking bank here, we have useful expressions that can be used in a presentation. So we have them for beginning a presentation, introducing arguments, giving examples, and for concluding a presentation. So I'd like you again to listen to the audio and tick all of the expressions that you hear her make in her presentation. So hopefully you would have heard, I'd like to begin by saying, I'm going to talk about, firstly, first of all, secondly, another thing is that, it's also true that, what's more, also, for example, for instance, take, and in the concluding part, there's to sum up, and the point I'm trying to make is. And so you'll see all of these expressions. Hopefully you got all of those from the listening. Now, I would like you to, unfortunately you can't work with a partner, but I'd like you to read through these stages of the presentation. There are 7 stages there. So I'd like you to read them. Now, they are not in the correct order. So read them through and I would like you to place them in the correct order. Now, I have given you the first one, which is D, look at the question, which you have to talk about. So that would be the first thing you would do in preparing to make your presentation. So pause the video now and work through in what order they belong in. So how did you do? So we know that D is number 1. So which one is the second thing we would do? Yes, it is E. We would make notes with ideas and arguments. What would be the third thing we would do? We would organize our notes in a logical way. The fourth thing you need to do when you're preparing a presentation would be think of a short introduction and a conclusion. Always think of your introduction and your conclusion first, and then you can work out what you're going to put in the middle a lot easier, and then you know you won't be putting too much in and you won't miss things out. So what would be the fifth thing we would do? The fifth thing we would do would be begin your presentation and look at the audience. So whenever you give a presentation, you shouldn't just sit and read your notes. You need to be able to look at the people you are speaking to and make eye contact with them. So the sixth thing we would do would be during your talk, you can use your notes about what comes next, but you shouldn't read them. So just have them as guidance. And so you should all see what the last one was, which you should have said is C, 7, which is finish your presentation at the right time. And that is 7. Okay, we'll go to the next box now. Now this is exam success. So I'd like everybody to read the exam success box. What other advice would you give to somebody who is about to give a presentation to the class in English? Think about your voice, the position of your body, visuals, the language you use, etc. Now, the next slide here is the exam success that told you it was on page 145. So if you have your Gateway book, you can look at it on page 145. Otherwise, it is here. And it's about speaking, giving a presentation. So here is more advice. So pause the video now and you can read through this. So the last slide in this presentation is over to you. So what we would like you to do is prepare a Flipgrid presentation on one of the following 6 topics. You'll see a blue arrow pointing to the 6 topics. So should students be paid for going to school? 2, is it a good idea to separate boys and girls into different classes at school? 3, should homework exist? 4, are exams the best way to evaluate students? 5, should the use of mobile phones be permitted in class? Or 6, are school uniforms a good idea? Okay, so now I will want you to give the presentation, but you're going to do this using Flipgrid, and you'll see the link in Google Classroom to do that. When you are doing the presentation, do use all of the information that has been in the slideshow here, and use the expressions from the speaking bank to help you with what you're going to say. So good luck with making your Flipgrid presentation. I look forward to seeing them all.